What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's insane trade rumor, let's talk about where this team stands right now. The Dallas Cowboys are looking for ways to get better in 2025, after another disappointing playoff exit. It's clear that changes need to be made if this team wants to finally break through and compete for a Super Bowl. And that brings us to today's topic. Could the Cowboys make a blockbuster trade to move up to the #1 pick in the NFL draft? There's a wild rumor floating around that Dallas has had discussions with the Tennessee Titans about jumping from number 12 all the way to number 1. And the biggest twist? Some believe the Cowboys might have to include Micah Parsons in the deal. Yeah, this is a big one. Before we break it all down, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a Cowboys update. All right, let's get into it. This all started with Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, who dropped a bombshell during an interview with KRLD-FM in Dallas. Florio said, "I did hear yesterday. You hear all sorts of stuff. And I don't like to traffic in stuff because I don't know how accurate it is. But I did have somebody tell me that the Cowboys have talked to the Tennessee Titans about moving up to #1 in the draft." Now, before we all lose our minds, let's be clear. This is a rumor, but Florio isn't just some random guy making things up. He's been covering the NFL for years, and he wouldn't throw this out there without hearing something. So if the Cowboys are actually talking to the Titans, the next question is, what would it take to move up to #1? Now here's where things get crazy. Florio hinted that Micah Parsons could be part of the trade package. Let's just take a second to process that. Parsons is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every season, and the heart of the Cowboys' defense. Trading him would be shocking. But when you look at the Cowboys' salary cap situation, things start to get interesting. Right now, Dallas has just $3.86 million in cap space via over the cap. Parsons is set to play on his 5th-year option in 2025, but he's going to want a massive extension, likely in the range of $35 million per year. If the Cowboys aren't willing to pay that, then moving him before he demands a trade or hits free agency might not be as crazy as it sounds. If Dallas trades Parsons, they would clear $24 million in cap space. But is that worth losing their best defender? Now, if the Cowboys actually pulled this trade off, the next question is, who are they moving up for? A lot of people assume that the #1 pick is for a quarterback, but that wouldn't make sense for Dallas with Dak Prescott still in place. Instead, the player to watch is Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter. Carter is being hyped as the next Micah Parsons. In fact, he literally said at the NFL Combine that Parsons took him under his wing before last season. At 6'3", 250 pounds, Carter is a dominant pass rusher who racked up 66 pressures in 2024, the second most in the entire country. Could he replace Parsons in Dallas? Maybe, but here's the concern. He's already dealing with a foot injury. If that becomes a long-term issue, the Cowboys could be making a massive mistake by giving up Parsons for a guy who might not even be healthy. This isn't the only big decision the Cowboys have to make on defense. DeMarcus Lawrence's future is also up in the air. Lawrence missed most of last season with a Lisfranc injury, but his agent says he's now 100% healthy and ready to go for his 12th NFL season. The problem? He's a free agent. His agent, David Cantor, said on 105.3. The fan that Lawrence wants to stay in Dallas, but it's up to the team to make it happen. I'm optimistic with our conversations with the Cowboys that they're very aware of what it'll take to keep DeMarcus a Cowboy, Cantor said. Translation? He's not coming back on a discount. So here's the situation. Dallas could lose Parsons in a trade. They could lose Lawrence in free agency. They might be relying on a rookie to replace them. That's a lot of change on defense for a team that already had problems stopping the run and making plays in big moments. Let's be real, Cowboys Nation. The run game hasn't been the same since prime Zeke Elliott. Tony Pollard was supposed to be the answer, but in 2023 he struggled to carry the load as a true RB1. That's why Dallas gave Rico Dowdle more opportunities in 2024, and to his credit, he took advantage of them. But now, There's no guarantee he'll be back. The Cowboys can't afford to go into the 2025 season without a reliable starting caliber running back. Whether it's through free agency or the draft, they need to find someone who can be a physical, every down runner and take pressure off Dak Prescott. And that brings us to Caleb Johnson. If you're not familiar with Caleb Johnson yet, let me put it this way. He's built for the kind of offense Clayton Adams wants to run. At 6'1", 225 pounds, Johnson is a powerful downhill runner with the ability to break tackles and wear down defenses. Analysts have compared him to James Conner, and that's an interesting connection because Conner had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons playing behind an offensive line that was coached by none other than Clayton Adams in Arizona. See where I'm going with this? Johnson's style of play fits perfectly with what Adams likes to do. He's a physical back who thrives in a gap scheme and can handle 15-20 carries per game. And let's not forget, Dallas needs to get more physical. After watching this offense struggle to run the ball in big moments over the past couple of seasons, adding a bruising back like Johnson could be exactly what this team needs. Why Caleb Johnson is a perfect fit in Clayton Adams' system. Clayton Adams was hired as the Cowboys' new offensive coordinator this offseason, and while he's never called plays at the NFL level before, we have a pretty good idea of what he values. As Arizona's offensive line coach, Adams helped transform the Cardinals' rushing attack. His units paved the way for James Conner to have the two best seasons of his career, and that's not a coincidence. Adams understands how to get the most out of his running backs, and he builds his offenses around physicality in the trenches. That's exactly why Johnson makes so much sense. Bleacher Report's Alex Ballentine put it perfectly when he said, if the Cowboys come away from the draft with a starting caliber offensive lineman and a running back who could take the ground game to the next level, they will have had a good draft. The offense has to have something outside of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb to scare opposing defenses. This is a huge point because as great as Dak and CeeDee are, this offense needs balance. If defenses only have to worry about stopping the passing game, it makes life a lot harder for Dak. That's why having a running back who can demand attention is so important. And Johnson, he has the skill set to do exactly that. How would Johnson fit in Dallas? If the Cowboys draft Caleb Johnson, how would he fit into this offense? It really depends on what happens with Rico Dowdle. If Dowdle re-signs, Johnson could be part of a 1-2 punch in the backfield. If Dowdle leaves, Johnson could be the lead back from day one. Either way, having a 225-pound bruiser in the backfield would give the Cowboys an element they've been missing. He could be the kind of runner who helps them close out games, which is something they struggled with last season. And let's not forget, Clayton Adams wants to run the ball.